Alrighty, so today we will start on our bottoms in our comfortable seated position. And we'll close our eyes. We'll pull those shoulders back and down. Begin to breathe all the way down. Get that diaphragm going down into our belly, opening up in our side ribs, in our back, nice and strong. Feel that core begin to activate as we breathe in and out. Super strong trunk. Soft shoulders. Patient mind. Good. And then inhale, we'll open our eyes, hands come up to the sky. And then exhale, let's just tilt over to one side. We can lower that. We'll go to the right. Right hand comes down to the ground. Left hand reaches up and over. Pressing that left hip down into the ground. And then inhale back up to the sky. And then exhale over to the other side. And then inhaling up. And exhale, let's fold forward. Bringing those hands forward, chest comes forward as we lower down. And then inhale, we'll walk our hands back, roll our way up to the top. Let's uncross those legs and place our feet out in front of us. And we'll keep this left foot on the ground, bent knee, and we'll cross the right ankle over that left knee into a little figure four stretch here. Hands can go behind our hips. And then just open up that right knee away from our body. Warm up our hips a little bit. Good. And now let's lengthen that left leg. We can place the right leg to the inside of that left thigh into Janu Shirshasana. Flexing that left foot. Both hips are pressing down into the ground, and we'll turn toward that left leg and just slowly fold forward here. Nothing too strenuous, just waking things up. Good, and slowly helping ourselves back up to the top, bending both knees, placing our feet onto our mats. Right foot will stay, and then we'll take that left foot, cross it over the right knee. Find that figure four on this side, moving the left knee away from our body, flexing that foot in front of us. Breathing deeply. And then we'll release, lengthen that right leg. Left foot can just go to the inside for Janu Shirshasana. Both sitting bones into the mat, turning toward that right leg, and then just slowly walking the hands down toward those toes, somewhere in that general direction. And then helping ourselves back up to the top. We'll just cross those legs so they can we can roll over those shins and come onto our hands and our knees in tabletop. Opening up those fingers wide into big starfish hands. Wrists are underneath of our shoulders, knees are under our hips, and then exhale, let's round into our cat. Lifting that spine up to the sky, tucking the chin and the tail, and then inhale into our cow, dropping the tummy, lifting the heart, and then exhaling cat, and inhaling cow. Moving with our breath at our own pace. And let's do one more cat and one more cow. And then find ourselves in that neutral spine again. Again, thinking about that strong tummy. Back is supported as we are active all around in our trunk. Good. And now let's just soften those feet. Butts come back into child's pose. Arms are out in front of us. Good. Let's inhale up to our little plank. Tuck that tail, lengthen in the back. Good. Exhale, lowering down. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. Inhale, we scoop our chests forward and then up into a baby cobra. And then as we exhale, press back to our child's pose. Inhale, coming up to our little plank. Exhale, we lower down. Inhale, we scoop. And then press back on that exhale. Do that a few more times. Again, moving with our breath, with purpose. Inhaling up. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale to that little back bend. Pressing back. Child's pose. Let's meet in child's pose. Good. Arms are out in front of us. Let's inhale up to our little plank, and we'll step forward with our right foot to the outside of that right pinky into lizard pose. Take a moment, couple of breaths, just wiggle into where we're at today. Good. Once we're in that lunge, let's lift up the right hand, open ourselves up for a little twist here. And then exhale, hands come back down. Let's keep our hips pointing forward, and we'll just slowly walk the hands around to the left just a little bit. So just our shoulders and our hands are moving, keeping those hips pointing forward. Good. Inhale, let's lengthen. Now exhale, let's continue walking around with those hands. So we'll swish that right or that left foot around right leg. We'll come out long, and we'll find ourselves into a bit of a side lunge here. Hands are on the ground. We can rock back and forth if we would like with our hips. Just again, wiggle in, and then begin to press the outer edge of that right foot into our mat. And inhale, let's lift those hands up, coming up to gate pose, thinking about making that back flat behind us, lifting the heart, pressing into our left knee and all of our right foot. Good. Exhale, let's take those hands over to the right. We can lower the right down to the thigh or to the knee. Good. Inhale up. And now let's take those hands over to the left. We can even lower that left hand all the way down to the ground if we would like. If we're here and we're happy, we stay here. If we would like, we can lift up that right foot into a bit of a balance. Good. And then we'll lower that right foot down. Hands come up to the center again. And then exhale, hinging at the hips. Hands come down in front of that left knee into a fold here. And now walking our hands around to the front of the mat, keeping that right leg nice and long as we come into a half split. Good. And think about bringing that left hip forward again. Good. And then inhale. Let's bring our hands forward, and we'll reach that lizard pose again. Stepping back as we exhale into our child's pose. Let's take 2 breaths here in child's pose. Good. And then when we're ready, turn around. When we're ready, we'll inhale, coming forward. Left foot comes up to the top of our mat, to the outside of that left pinky, into our lizard pose again. Wiggle around, adjust, and see how we're feeling today on this side. Good. We'll keep that right hand where it's at, and we'll lift up the left. Little twist here. And then exhaling, hands come back down, keeping our hips pointed toward the top of our mat. We'll slowly walk the hands and the shoulders around to the right. And now continuing with those hands around, a little bit further around to the right, we'll swish that right foot back behind us. Left leg is out long to the side in our side lunge here. Again, we can rock back and forth, kind of feel a little bit more opening in our hips maybe. See how our back feels when we're here. Pressing into that outside edge of the left foot. Let's inhale, hands come up high for gate. And then exhale, let's tilt over to the left. We can lower that left hand down to the thigh. Right hand keeps reaching up and over, stacking those shoulders, keeping them in the same plane with our hips, with our leg, everything is flat. Good. Inhaling, hands come up high. And now exhale, let's go over to the left. So we can lower that hand to the thigh and reach, or we can reach all the way down with that right hand to the ground. If we're happy here, we stay here. If we would like, we can lift up that left leg, little balance. Good. Slowly, let's lower that left foot back down. Inhale, hands come up high, nice and tall. And then exhale, hinging at the hips, folding forward. And then slowly we'll walk those hands around and find ourselves in our half split on this side. So keeping this left leg long, hips are over the right knee, backs are flat-ish. If we can keep them flat, that's awesome. If we're doing our best, that is awesome. Good. And then on our next inhale, we'll just curl those hands forward and we'll find ourselves again in our lizard pose. And then let's step back into our child's pose again. Fingers are wide, pressing into each finger individually, strong into our mat. Let's pull those shoulders away. Tuck the toes underneath of our butts. Press backwards with those hips. Feeling those arches Open up our low back, our ankles, and then when we're ready, we'll just begin to continue pressing into those hands and feet, lifting the hips up toward the sky, bending the knees so that we can lengthen all the way from our fingertips to the top of our tail. We can pedal the feet a little bit if we would like. Wake up our calves and our hamstrings. And now let's deeply bend that left knee. Begin to straighten and press the right heel down in towards our mat, close as we can. Without upsetting this beautiful long spine that we just created. Good. And then bending that right knee, we'll lengthen the left leg, pressing that heel down in toward the mat. Good. Bending that left knee, lengthening the spine, lift those hips, and now just begin to straighten and press those heels down in toward. If they don't make it all the way down to the mat, of course that's fine. Just making it in that general direction, finding where we're at today. Good. Good. And then slowly, with little tiny steps, let's walk our way up towards our hands, pressing our heel down, our toes down into the mat with every little step. Until we find our forward fold here, we can release the arms, we can hold our elbows, soft knees, round spine. Just hang in our forward fold for a little bit here. Good. And now let's release those hands, bending the knees so that our fingers can find the mats. And then we'll just bring those fingers right in front of the right toes. We'll keep all of the weight on that right foot so we can take the left, cross it back behind. Once we get the balance here, let's lengthen in that half lift. And then exhale, fold a little bit further down. Good. And then slowly we can bend those knees, untangle the legs, find our forward fold here. And then we'll just walk those hands over toward the left side. Take the right, cross it back behind the left. Once we get situated with our legs, we'll lengthen in the spine. And then exhale, fold forward again. And then gently we'll soften those knees. We'll unwind the legs. Find our forward fold again.
And then bending the knees, rounding in the spine slowly, because we've been upside down for a long time. We'll just roll our way up. Take our time.
Hands are to our sides in mountain pose, pressing our feet in toward the mat. Thighs and glutes are working, core is working, should feel good and strong and active. Shoulders are pulling back and down, chests are opening, fingers are reaching down toward the mats, and then lifting from the top of our head, making ourselves tall. And then inhale, hands come up to the sky. And then exhale, little back bend here, hips come forward, shoulders go back, chest lift up high. Inhaling up. And then exhale, let's make big circles with those arms back behind us, bringing the thighs and knees together for chair, sitting down low with those butts. And then inhaling nice and high. Let's bring those hands together, exhale them down to our hearts, pressing those palms together. Shifting the weight onto our left foot, we'll lift up the right, and then slowly stepping all the way back for a high lunge. Good, let's open up warrior two, lowering that right heel down to the mat, bending the left knee, thinking about moving that left knee toward the pinky toe side of our foot so that when we glance down, we can see our big toe peeking out to the inside of the knee here, which encourages those hips to open up, shoulders are turned. Again, we're sitting in between like two panes of glass. Good, inhale, extended reverse warrior, lengthening that left leg. Left hand comes up to the sky. Exhale, let's shift those hips back behind us, reaching forward. We'll work our way into triangle pose. So we reach, opening up in those inside ribs. When we can't reach anymore, the arm is the only thing that lowers. And the left or the right hand comes up to the sky. Keep pulling these hips away, nice and long in that left leg, inside that left thigh, and also in that right side. Good, let's bend that left knee. We'll come all the way around to our high lunge. Good, hands come down. Let's step back for a downward facing dog. Inhale forward into our plank. We'll flow through our vinyasa. Exhale, lower down. Elbows go to our ribs. And then inhale, we can do our cobra or we can come up to upward facing dog. Tuck those toes, lift the hips, press back for downward facing dog. Find that length. And then again, little steps, pressing those heels into our mat. Walk our way forward into our forward fold. And now let's bend those knees. Hands can find the floor here. We're just going to take our peace fingers and put them in between our first and second toes here. And then our thumbs can kind of push the toenail like a button, keeping the bend in the knees as we lengthen in the spine. And then as we fold, we'll begin to lengthen in the legs, lower our chest. And then use that grip on our toe to help ourselves, not force, help ourselves deepen into that fold. And then softening the knees, releasing those hands. And we'll slowly roll our way up. Hands come all the way up to the sky. Good. Exhale, back bend here. Inhale up. Big circles with those arms. Let's sit down into the chair. Good, strong trunk. As we sit down, should begin to feel that lower belly press into our thighs, opening up in that low back. And then inhale up. Hands come together, and we'll exhale them down to our hearts. Keep that chest open, core is strong, shifting the weight to that right foot so we can lift up the left. And with purpose, stepping back, taking as long as we need to get back there into our high lunge. Good, and now let's open up warrior two, lowering that left heel down to the mat. Arms are stretching out in opposite directions, really deepening in that lunge. Good, inhale, extended reverse warrior, lengthening in that right leg. Right hand comes up to the sky. And now, pulling those hips back behind us, reaching forward. There's something just beyond those fingers that we just really, really, really want. And then we'll lower the hand down to the shin or to the thigh. We can reach up with that left hand. Actively pulling those hips away. Continue lengthening in those ribs. Beautiful. Slowly bend that right knee. We'll turn our hips forward. Hands come up for our high lunge again. Good. Exhale, hands come down to our mats. Stepping back for our downward facing dog. Inhaling forward. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, we can do cobra or upward facing dog. Tuck those toes, press back for downward facing dog. And now let's walk those feet forward to about halfway into our mats. We'll walk the hands back to meet our toes. And then heel toe, let's walk those feet out a little bit wider than our hips. Maybe a lot wider than our hips, depending on how we're feeling today. Toes are pointed to the corners of the room. And then we'll slowly lower those bums down into a Malasana Squat here. Doing our best to keep a nice proud chest, and a long back. Good. And then we can lower those hands down to the mats, either in front of us or behind, so that we can gently and with oh so much grace lower ourselves down to our bottoms. Feet are out in front of us here. Good. And then from here, we're going to lay down this left leg, bringing the knee all the way to the center. Right leg is going to cross over the left. And now if we need props, we can use a blanket or a little pillow. We can prop ourselves up a little bit, maybe underneath our hip or underneath our knees if we need. But we're trying to direct this top side hip, the right hip down toward the mat, Give ourselves a few breaths here. If we would like, we can slowly walk those fingers forward into a bit of a fold. And then let's inhale, lifting those chests. Good. And then hands can come back behind us. We'll untangle those legs. Can even give a few little windshield wipers if we need. And then when we're ready, we'll move on over to the other side, lowering that left or that right leg down. Left leg comes over the top. We're doing our best to cross knee to knee. Doing our best. And then that left hip, top side hip, is working in this general direction toward the mat. If it doesn't make it there, that's totally fine. If we need, again, we can use a little pillow or roll up our mat a little bit for some support. But we're working in that general direction of going toward the mat. Take a few breaths here, see how it's feeling. And then we can make that decision whether or not we want to stay here or if we would like to fold forward a little bit. And then once we get folded, maybe we want to come back because we didn't really like that, and that's fine. And then when we're ready, help ourselves up from that fold, that optional fold. Hands can come back behind us. We'll unwind those legs. Give ourselves a little wiggle. Windshield wipers here. Good. And then we'll bring those knees into our chest. We'll roll up into our little egg and we'll rock back onto our backs. Good. And then the feet will come down to the mat all the way up here by our butts. We'll lower our shoulders down. We'll try and bring those shoulder blades together a little bit. Open up that chest. Further, hands can come down to our sides. Take a breath or two here. And then when we're ready, we'll press into those heels, into our shoulders, and then begin to tilt that pelvis just a little bit more. We'll feel some length in our quads. Our butt will want to begin to just fly right up into our bridge. And then starting at the top of our spine, let's just lower one vertebra down at a time until we get all the way down. Our whole spine is pressing into the mat. When we breathe, we can feel our tummy expanding, but also our back muscles are pressing into our mats. Good. One more time with our bridge, tilting that pelvis, lifting the hips. Keep that length in our thighs, in our back. And then again, beginning at the top of our spine, lowering, lowering, lowering all the way down. Lift the feet up off of the ground. Bring those knees into our chest. The more we roll up into that ball, the better. Good. Exhale. Let's release the arms and shoulders and head back down to our mats. Keeping the knees bent above us. Nice strong inhale here. Feel the entire spine press into our mats. And then as we exhale, we'll just take those knees over to the left. A little spinal twist here.
Inhale, let's bring those knees back up to the center. And then exhale, when we're ready, lowering the knees over to the right. Let gravity do all the work here. On our next inhale, coming back to the center. And roll up into our egg again. And then inhale, let's bring those hands and feet up to the sky. Reaching with the fingers, reaching with those feet, the toes and the heels, wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers, moving around in our joints. Getting rid of the last remaining crackles and wiggles that we may have. And then exhale, let's lower the hands down above our heads. The feet come down underneath of our hips, making ourselves as long as we possibly can. From here, let's go into our banana pose. So we'll take that right hand and hold on to the left wrist, and we'll just gently encourage the shoulders and the hands to move over toward the right. The hips stay where they are, or else then we're just scooting across the floor. And then the feet will walk over to the right, making that beautiful arc or banana shape in our body. You can even cross that left foot over the top of the right if we would like, for a little extra oomph in the outside hip. Inhaling here. Staying for that exhale. And then at the very tail end, we'll release to the center. And we'll move over to the other side. Left hand will hold the right wrist, moving those arms and shoulders over. And then we'll walk the feet over to the left as well. Again, if we would like to, we can cross our right leg over the top of the left. But we want both hips still on our mat, both shoulders on our mat. One more inhale here. Exhaling. And at the end of that exhale, we'll release back to the center. Give ourselves another big long stretch here, final stretch. And then completely exhaling. Just let everything relax. We'll close our eyes. We'll soften our jaw. We'll relax all throughout our body. We'll take this time to just rest and heal. And when we are ready, and it doesn't have to be at the same time as me, deepen our breath. Begin to bring gentle movement back into our body. Roll up into our little ball and rock over onto our side.
And help ourselves up to seated. Take a moment to check in with how we are feeling after our practice, right after our Shavasana. And we'll inhale, lift our hands up to the sky. Bring them together at the top. And then exhale them down to our hearts with gratitude. I am so thankful for your presence. It is my honor to help you through your practice today. I commend you on your dedication and your follow through, just getting up and getting onto your mat. I wish you a very, very fantastic day. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.